Hey loves, there's a lot of grief going on at the moment. A lot of us are suffering grief, and a lot of people have suffered the loss of loved ones, whether that's through the pandemic or just through life. And a lot of us are also suffering a grief for the loss of our old lives, with how that's been. And you know, a lot of us have lost people throughout the years. So I thought I'd do this video about grief today and how important it is that you acknowledge and recognise if you are grieving and going through the grief process. It can be as clear as a physical grieving of someone that's passed over, a loved one that's passed over, but it can also be an emotional grieving. Sometimes we grieve when we reach a certain age or our kids leave home. Sometimes we grieve the end of a career or a job, or the end of friendships, or the end of relationships, and divorce even. And the more I think about grief, the more it comes to my mind that grief is simply that it's love. Grief is love with no place to go. And I truly believe that needs to be honoured and acknowledged and felt within us, because if we choose to ignore it or don't give ourselves time to feel the grief, it won't heal. And then will hit us like a bus. 18 months later, a couple of years later, and we wonder why we feel so bad, because we think that it will be, it's too late to feel the grief, but actually we're just storing it up. So I'd like you to ponder on that. Are you grieving? What are you grieving in your life? And grief being love with no place to go. A really cool way of starting to accept and acknowledge grief is to write a letter to what you're missing. To write a letter, even if you never send it, perhaps you'll burn it or bury it. It's really good to write the letter with all your feelings and emotions, and then get rid of the letter through burning, burying, flushing down the toilet. These things are really important. It's the release part. It's the actual letting go part. That is really important once we've acknowledged it. So I just wanted to jump on here today and remind you to just have a feel inside about perhaps what you're grieving, what you've lost in this last year or two. For some of us, as I said, it can be as big and profound as the end of relationships or the loss of loved ones. And my heart goes out to you with a great big cuddle. And I'm here if you need me. And for some of us, it's a loss of freedom and a loss of the way of life that has been very affected by the COVID. But either way, it's time to feel, because it soon will be spring. And soon the energy will change, where we're our energy will go outwards again rather than inwards. And now's a good time to feel that, to love yourself through it, to comfort yourself through it, to accept that you're grieving, to acknowledge it, to feel it and release it. I hope that helps, darling. And you know where I am if you need me. Love you.